Hi, and welcome back. Don't you just hate those cooking programs that begin that way? Well, this is going to be a very real cooking program. Very real and in your face. It's going to be live, one take possibly. I'm going to be making a Stromboli tonight, so I'm going to be moving pretty quickly. My bread is already risen. I've already taken care of that. I have my mise en place, my pepperoni, my ham, some onions, some peppers, 4-cheese blend Asiago. Let's see, we've got Parmesan, mozzarella. There's one more here, provolone. That's what's in here. Got everything set up so that I can roll out 2 Strombolis. Having everything together will really speed you along, as it were. So that's why they call it mise en place. Put it out there. First, we're going to dust our counter. Here I've reserved a little bit of flour ahead of time. Put that in a sieve. I can just dust that out gently on the counter. Here's my beautiful bowl. Once you move it, it will start to collapse. We're going to go ahead and punch it down anyway. It had doubled in size. I originally had about a quart of dough. It's very oily, very sticky. It's totally okay. You got plenty of time to work with this. Alright, get your hands all lathered up, throw it down, dust it again. We're going to divide this dough into 2 equal parts after we knead it down. It will begin to rise again if you allow it to sit again. This is the point where you can shape if you wish. Some people will have a bowl, some people will braid, some people will make loaves. It really all depends on what kind of pan you have and your level of skill. So tonight, again, we're going to be making a Stromboli. Very basic. I use very basic ingredients. You don't have to buy anything special. You can. You can make it tasty, or if you wish. Again, it's all up to you. I'm one of these cooks that believes in perfection in cooking. And anyone who knows my cooking knows that's what I stand by. It's sometimes really difficult for me to just let go and say, hey, let's do this fast. I like to get it done right. This dough has a beautiful consistency. I've recently been experimenting with yogurt making. And as a result, I have a lot of a byproduct left over called whey. It doesn't taste very good. However, you can bake with it and it makes phenomenal bread. So, bread is the beginning of almost anything Italian. This is looking nice. It's not sticking anymore. I've got my dough scraper here handy. I'm going to just go down the center of this. Cut it in half. Remember this flour? Dust some out here to the side. Put it out there and just let him chill for a little bit. Your other bad boy, put a little more flour in the sieve. You're going to need it. Try to make room for yourself. You're going to need it. Have handy your roller. I just use an old wine bottle. This was actually a great one. Glass is good because it keeps a good temperature. Cooler temperatures are better for most baking needs right before you begin, so that not too much actually happens. It really all depends on what you're baking, of course. It's sticky on that side, so we'll just do a little pinch of flour and put him down. It doesn't matter what shape, stay close to round as much as possible. Make sure to dust a little bit on there, because it will stick to most surfaces, as you notice. Turning the dough gently so that you don't tear it will give you more opportunity to get the shape a little more consistent. You don't have to grind it into the counter. It's more about like pushing and rolling out. Remember, it's all up to you. It doesn't really matter what shape it's going to be, because you're going to size it up very nicely in the end. This is the most time-consuming part. It is the most critical part. If you don't shape the dough correctly in the beginning, it won't bake into what you're trying to make. Right now, as of this moment, we have a pizza dough. This is a pizza crust. If this was, if I folded this up into quadrants and then rolled it out into a pan and dusted sand pan, it would bake into a lovely pizza. A little sticky on that side, so we're going to flip it. Flip gently. You don't want to tear the dough. You can repair tears, but tears are very difficult with bread baking. Anyone who bakes, even one time, if you cut into dough, you notice that the dough will bake in a certain texture in the manner of the tear or the shape. And this is consistent with almost all bread baking. So it's good to smooth out your edges and everything well ahead of time and get it all together. Now dust off any residual flour that you might have. And notice it's not a perfect circle. It's a good one. I've been doing this a long time, but it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. First, we're going to put down a layer of salami. Put this closer to this edge. Remember, try to keep this thin. I might roll this just a little bit more. There's some thickness in here. If it's too thick, it's not going to have that delicate layer of flavor. You don't want people to be biting into big old hunks of bread. I mean, that's fine, but we're not doing a calzone here, so I think less is more. I'm not an Italian, I'm Native American, but I know what I like, and I know what other people like. Again, I've been doing this a long time. Nice and thin. We're going to try this pepperoni one more time. A little close to you on your person. I've got like 10 slices I'm going to put down for this. And remember, it doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to feed the army. Spread it out a little bit. Now I've got some ham. Some people use prosciutto. I don't have the budget for that right now. Maybe one day. Then over here I have some sauteed bell peppers, green and red, and then some onions that were sauteed in the sausage grease, which I highly recommend because it will add added flavor to your stromboli. Don't overwhelm the innards, as it were. You don't want the seams to burst. And remember, you have to wrap all of this up, so think ahead. Just because you have a lot doesn't mean you need to use it. You can use that in a spaghetti sauce or something else if you want to. It's not that big of a deal. Put down just a few pieces of sausage. The sausage is very powerful. I've seasoned the peppers and the onions with oregano, garlic, salt and pepper, just lightly, because there's a lot of salt in these meats. But there's going to be a good amount of bread and cheese to go with that. It's going to balance the palate out very nicely. It's going to taste good. So we'll pull some of that back for the next calzone. Excuse me, Stromboli. And when you have your cheeses ready, notice I'm not putting any sauces in this. It's because I'm going to serve a marinara that I have to the side. Now, I buy a marinara or I make it in bulk. It depends on what's going on, and then I freeze it. So I've had this one thawing and getting it ready. When I'm ready to eat my stromboli, that's when I will serve my marinara. It makes the stromboli more dry, which is good. It holds together better and it doesn't pop and leak as much. This is a beautiful meal, and as you can see, it comes together pretty simply. Alright, make sure you have all of your ingredients in place. Again, that's your salami, some type of ham if you wish, and then your peppers and your onions that have been sauteed in some of the grease that was left over from the sausage. This is just plain old breakfast sausage, nothing special. You can get Italian if you wish, no big deal. Then your 4-cheese blend, you don't have to overwhelm it. Think dimensionally, because we're going to roll this, and then we're going to pinch it off and close it up. I've already set aside my baking sheet. You need to have a good baking sheet, and you need to have parchment paper when you're going to do something like this. I think it's a need because it just makes things a lot easier. You'll see less burn, you'll see less problems, things will come out almost picture perfect every time. Highly recommended. I've cranked my oven up to 500 degrees. That's very hot. You really should never leave an oven that hot unattended. We're only going to bake for about 12 to 15 minutes contingent upon how brown this gets. Last night I made one. Tonight I'm making two, likely at the same time. I haven't really decided. It depends on how all of this comes together. But, you know, think ahead about what you're going to do. It's really critical to plan out what's going to happen, because if you leave an oven that hot, you could burn the food very quickly, and you don't want to have an incident in the kitchen. Always think safe. Okay? Got all that together. We're going to roll this up now. Pull this lower flap towards you. Don't break it. Be careful not to break it. Flip him over, just like so. This begins making the shape of the stromboli. If you have any cheese or debris that is in the field and it does not allow you to get underneath the flap, you need to get that out of the way, because it won't attach itself when you press. You want to press on down all around until you have this nice kind of rectangular shape. Being careful not to push into the dough so much that you cut it. Then we're going to flip it one more time. Notice it's a nicely floured surface, so it's working with me instead of against me. That's important. You want to think ahead. Flip one more time. And that should be the end. This residual edge, make sure it's kind of thin like it was in the beginning. Find the ends with your finger. Feel gently. Press along that back end and cut. Don't be afraid. Find that end and cut. See, I'm seeing ahead to what I know what's going to happen. This is going to puff up beautifully. Now, if I keep this beautiful shape, it's going to be beautiful till the very finish. And that's really what I want to do, because I'm giving one of these as a gift. If one of them messes up, it's no big deal, but I'd really like to be extra cautious on the first one. This back end, we're going to cut just a little bit off the back side. Put this to the side. Pulling back over. I had a little too much on there. Dust and flour. And then I'm just going to pinch this up. Nothing should really come out because you rolled it twice, remember? Now, I don't know what the school of philosophy is on this stromboli making thing. However, I know what happened last night when I did this, and it was beautiful, and I was very happy. Go ahead and pinch your ends up. Cinch them up, being careful not to tear. That's the most important part. You've got a lot of things going on in here. You can see it's kind of lumpy. Pinch the opposite end. You can use flour. Some people use water. I like to use the flour because it keeps a dryness that I can work with. I've learned to work with the dryness. I'm pinching and then I'm cinching like a little loaf. The more perfect you get this in the beginning, the prettier this will be as it's cooking. Okay. So it doesn't have to be perfect. There we are. We're going to slather her on up with a little bit of oil. Not a lot. Easy does it, folks. Be ready with that hand, because you don't need oil to go everywhere. Trying to avoid getting it on the bottom. We're going to move it anyway to the baking sheet. This is where I'm checking all my little pinches and make sure my cinches are good. Because if you're going to have a problem, the blowouts are going to be on this side. Putting olive oil on this will give it a nice, beautiful brown, but it can also easily burn at 500 degrees, so be careful. Once it's all sheened up, I have cornmeal or corn flour, and I sprinkle just a little bit of that down. It gives it a very beautiful texture, and it keeps it, I mean, it's not going to stick anyway because it's on the parchment paper, but I love the texture that is made by doing it. You don't need a lot. My employer gave me some blue corn, ground corn, blue corn that I grind up into my pepper meal and do like this sometimes for special occasions. It makes a really pretty contrast for most breads. Then gently, carefully, pick up. Dust on there. And I'm decided I'm going to go ahead and make one because I know what I'm doing with one. Two might get complicated. We don't want to worry with that right now. And here you're ready to slit. Make sure to slit so that you can vent properly. If it doesn't vent, it might have a blowout. So this will help with that, and it's also presentation. When it's finished, the whole loaf will be brown, and then the cuts will be bright white, and some of the cheese may seep through. It'll be very nice. So I've made 6 slits in the top. It doesn't really have to be a certain number. I just kind of even it up. Time you get better with spacing. Nothing serious. My oven is just about ready, I believe. Yes, we are there at 500. So we're going to pop this bad boy in and then we'll come back to you. Can't wait. Don't forget to set your timer.
Hi, I'm Alexa Montalvo, founder and CEO of...
We'll start with 10 minutes because that's very hot. I know what I'm doing here. We'll see you.
If you want to know how aggressively to pay off your student loans,